This is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Today I get to share one of my favorite foods in the whole wide world with you. And what that is the almighty coconut. I love coconuts. They're one of my favorite foods in the world. And today we're going to show you how to make a couple coconut products using fresh whole coconuts. Because using fresh whole coconuts and using fresh foods is always better than buying packaged, bottled, and jarred foods. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how to make 3 coconut products. Number 1, coconut cream. Man, this stuff will blow your mind if you've never had it before. You got to make it with a fresh coconut. Number 2, we're going to show you how to make coconut butter, which is basically, instead of using nut butter, you could use coconut butter. It's 100% coconut, really delicious. And finally, we're going to show you how to make raw coconut oil, all using the Omega 8004 Nutrition Center. So first, I want to take you guys to a local health food store to show you guys how much coconut butter and coconut oil would cost if you had to buy it. So we're here in the raw food section and we're going to check out their coconut butter and their coconut oil. So let's check it out. Let's see. So next to the walnut butter, they have their coconut butter. So this coconut butter is raw, although I wonder if it really is raw, and you never really know if it's raw, because there's no legal definition of raw in raw foods, unfortunately. So let's see, that stuff is $7.49 for 8 ounces of coconut butter, man. So that's definitely a lot of money for 8 ounces. So besides the coconut butter, they got other different nut butters, which you can also make with your juicer. But they also have the coconut oil. So this stuff, 15-ounce jar, it's $14.49. So this also is labeled raw, but you know what? Once again, there's no legal definition of raw, so you don't really know how it is processed. I mean, it looks all right in there, and there's a best before date, which is always really good. But it's always best to make it yourself at home and eat natural and unprocessed foods as much as possible. So instead of buying bottled coconut oil or bottled up coconut butter and creating more packaging waste, why don't you buy your own coconuts, which are much less expensive, and make coconut butter and oil yourself at home with your own juicer. So let's go ahead and show you how to do just that. So as you can see, man, that stuff is super expensive for a little jar. It's insane. But you can make it yourself if you have an Omega 8004 Nutrition Center and as few as 1 coconut. This 1 coconut, depending on where you live, may cost $1, $1.50, maybe $2 max. And with this coconut, you could make that coconut cream and coconut oil and the coconut butter that we're going to make in 1 second. So the first step is to get the water out of the coconut. I've already done that. I've popped a hole in there and I put a straw in there and drank out all the water. The next step is to open the coconut. It's very simple, very easy. Anybody could do this. The easiest way, you could put this in a bag and smash it against the concrete. It'll break into a million pieces, but I like to be a little more civilized than that. I like to use a standard cleaver, and what I do is I take the back edge of the cleaver, not the side with a blade. This will damage your blade, and all you simply do is hold the coconut in your hand, and you can see here, this is the bottom of the coconut, and this is where the eyes are. You're going to imagine an imaginary plane around the middle. Say this was the Earth, it would be the equator. And what you're going to simply do is tap with the non-sharp side of the knife along the equator. Tap, turn, tap, turn, tap, turn, tap, turn, tap, turn. And you're going to keep tapping and turning right along the equator, and pretty soon it'll just open up like the Earth will be split in 2. So once you have that, you might be saying, hey man, how do I get the meat out of there? Well, I have a special tool for that, and that tool is the coconut demeating tool. This tool is available at youngcoconuts.com if they have any in stock. And how you use this tool is you simply take this tool and shove this tool in between the shell and the meat of the coconut, being very careful. So shove it in there and kind of turn while you're moving this around. Once again, with any tool, be very careful. You can do this with like a knife, but you know, with a knife it can get very dangerous. I don't recommend it. I recommend using the right tool for the right job. So I'm going to go ahead and get this out. You can see here we're just getting it off in little chunks. So when you're getting the coconut out of the shell, it's very important. You don't want any shell fragments on the coconut pieces that you're taking out. Now you could have some of this membrane, but this membrane is not shell. If you put shell pieces through the machine, you will damage the machine and it will not be covered under warranty. So be very careful to remove all the shell pieces. Another thing I can recommend after you get all the coconut out, if you want like that nice white bright coconut, you want to take a grater or a paring knife and you want to pare off all the coloring. So you want to leave it nice and bright white. That way you're going to get a nice finished product if you're a chef or whatever and you want it to look nice and presentable. I don't want to take the time to do that, so my coconut, after I dry it, comes out a little bit brown, but it's perfectly fine for making the coconut butter, the coconut oil, and the coconut cream that we'll be making today. Alright, so that's the last bit of coconut meat we got out of the shell. We're just going to go ahead and break this up into smaller pieces so that we can fit it into the feed chute of the juicer. And before I go on, I did have 2 coconuts on the table. You can see this is the standard brown coconut and this is the standard white coconut. So the white coconut is less mature and the meat is not quite as thick and as formed. These are definitely better for drinking, but they're not as good to make what we're making today, because what we want to make today, we're making the coconut oil, the coconut butter, and the coconut cream. And for those things, we want a high level of fat content. So the brown coconuts have a higher level of fat content and will make these coconut products much better than the white ones. That being said, I have also used the white ones. Just doesn't quite turn out as good. So here is all our freshly deshelled coconut. And if you take that coconut through the Omega 8004 Nutrition Center when it's fresh and with the juicing screen, and you can see the juicing screen here, what'll happen is the machine will literally crush up all this coconut and make a cream. Because there is some water content still in here, it's basically going to juice out some water content and the fat to give you that delicious cream you're looking for. So if you use the dried coconut shreds that I made actually in the Omega by using the fresh coconut with the blank plate and then taking what you get out and put it into your dehydrator at low temperature, you get these. You get the coconut flakes. And these coconut flakes are high in oil content and don't have the water content. So if you put these through the machine with, once again, your blank plate, you're going to get a coconut butter. And if you put it through the juicer with the screen, the juicing screen, you're going to get a coconut oil. So depending on how you set up the machine and if you use fresh or dry coconut, you're going to get something a little bit different. So first we're going to set the juicer up with the juicing screen. And we're going to put that fresh coconut in. Let's go ahead and turn this machine on. And we'll just drop these pieces in there. As you can see, the machine's really just crushing up the coconut and literally juicing it. Might take a little while before some of the cream starts to come out. Once again, it's very important to inspect each and every piece of coconut that you put into the machine to make sure there is no shell fragments. If there are shell fragments, it will damage your juicer and it will not be covered under warranty. So as you can see, we're getting some coconut cream out here, and on the end we're basically getting a defatted coconut. Now you can use this coconut, but it just doesn't have the fat in it, so it's not quite as tasty as the stuff if you put the standard screen in that would actually keep the oil in with the coconut. Alright, so this is working very well. Very simple, very easy. And that's one of the things I really like about the Omega 8004 Nutrition Center. You know, besides just juicing, besides just doing a great job at juicing dark leafy greens, which I believe we should all be juicing, it has a multi-purpose features such as processing coconut. And because coconuts are one of my favorite foods, that makes the Omega 8004, because it processes coconuts, one of my favorite machines in the kitchen. So we're probably about halfway done processing all that coconut. Very simple, very easy, once again, in the Omega 8004. Now you might be wondering, hey John, that's coconut cream there. What if I want a coconut milk? Well, what you do then, if you wanted a coconut milk, you basically get this cream and you could add some water. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is I would actually use a different appliance. I would actually use the Omega Vert juicer, which I have another video demonstrating that. I'd blend up the coconut meat with some water, and then I'd pour that mixture through the Omega Vert It won't really work if you pour that mixture through the Omega 8004 because this juicer is set up a little bit differently. So this machine is best for making the coconut cream, the coconut butter, or the coconut oil. And the Omega Vert is actually only good for making the coconut milk and not the other things. If I had to choose one juicer, it'd be tough, but I'd probably choose this guy because it is a little bit more flexible. You could also simply make coconut milk by blending the coconut with water and then squeezing it through a nut milk bag. That's another real simple and easy way to do it. So we have just a few more pieces of the coconut we're going to put through the machine here. As you can see, that one coconut yielded about 3/4 of a cup of coconut cream. Man, this stuff is out of this world. It's like watery and fat. Oh, it's insane. So that's it. That's how easy it is to process the coconut. Now this coconut is nice, a little bit warm, and you know, a lot of the oil has been extracted out of it because that's what the juicer did. It separated the juice or the water and the oil into the cup and left us with all the fiber. You could dehydrate this and use this for cooking. I mean, basically it's a lot of fiber because there's not a high oil content, although there is still a little bit left in there. Let's go ahead and turn this machine off and show you this crazy coconut cream we have. 3/4 of a cup, about 6 ounces. Man, whew, that stuff is rich. Whew. That's insanely good. Let's go ahead and put this aside and we'll set up next to make the coconut butter. So we're reset and we're all ready now to make the coconut butter using the Omega 8004 Nutrition Center. So you can see here what we were left with when we separated the juice or the coconut cream from the coconut. We got the fiber. So if you use the blank plate and process the coconut, you're going to get coconut shreds that have 100% oil in them. Most coconut shreds you buy and the stuff you just made contain low oil content. So the low oil content coconut shreds will not make the butter or make the oil because we need the oil to make everything stick together. So we're going to go ahead and put this aside, and what we're going to do is we're going to take our bowl. We have the blank plate installed in the machine once again. Put that in place, and we're going to take our coconut shreds that we made using the blank plate, and we got the shreds, we put it in the dehydrator, we dehydrated them. So once you dehydrate them, I have found they store for about 3 to 6 months before they go bad. And going bad is a good thing because if things go bad, those are the things we want to eat. So you always want to smell your coconut. Should have a nice smell like you're in Hawaii before you use it, because if it doesn't, if it smells rancid, you want to throw it out. So we're going to just simply open this container up and we're just going to start feeding into the machine. It really is this easy to make your own coconut butter. So now we're taking the coconut shreds that we have that have the full oil content and we're just mashing them up into literally a butter. So as you can see, we're feeding this stuff in and it's coming out of the machine. And we're probably going to do, oops. Now if you feed it too fast, this is what happens. It backs the machine up. You want to turn it on the off position and hit the reverse. Go reverse for a second, then go forward again. If it continues to get stuck, you want to do that a couple times. You'll have to go backwards and forwards until it unjams itself. The thing to remember is to not feed it that fast so that it jams up, because this will actually slow down your processing of the coconut. Alright, I think we almost are unjammed. Alright, there we go, we're unjammed. So now when I feed it in, carefully feed in only a little bit at a time. Do not overload the machine. That's very important. So as you can see, the coconut butter that we're making is a little bit brown, and that's because I didn't shave off the shell like I had mentioned previously. This is perfectly fine to eat. You're going to get a little bit of more fiber this way. Let's feed a little bit more coconut into there. Alright, so once you fed the coconut through once, and this is the amount we want to make in this time, so now we're going to feed this back through the machine. We're going to put a new bowl in there and feed a little of this back through the machine. And each successive time that you put the coconut through, it's going to basically congeal and get ground up even finer the oils are gonna come out and it's gonna stick together even better than it did the previous time. So what I find is that I'll usually need to put the coconut through about 2, maybe 3 times to get the consistency that I like. But of course, to get the consistency you like, you know, just play with it. Maybe you'll like 2 times, maybe you'll like 3, maybe you'll like 4, maybe you'll like 5. As you can see here, this is kind of like still in bits, but now you can see it coming out, it's more congealed, it's stuck together, and that's more of that buttery consistency that we're looking for. So if you do this enough times, it's gonna be easy enough to spread on some toast. So there you go. Knock this stuff off. Let's feed it through another time. This is getting pretty buttery, getting nice and stuck together. We might have to start using the pusher here. Just works really easy on the Omega. The Omega 8004 Nutrition Center is nice and powerful to literally make your own coconut butter at home. You saw the price a little bit earlier in there, man. This is probably the amount of maybe 1.5 coconuts. So like for like $1, a few dollars, you could make your own coconut butter. That would cost you like $10 if you bought it. Plus the stuff you make at home, you know the quality, you know what's gone in there, you know the temperature that you've processed it at, and man, it just tastes better. You gotta take my word for it until you get to do this for yourself. It's insane. So now you can see here, this stuff's totally sticking together. I think we're gonna run it through one more time, and we're gonna be good to go. This stuff is insanely good. So now you can see that, I mean, it's almost getting to be like a liquid. We probably put it through one more time, it probably would be a liquid. I mean, this is really the stuff. This stuff is so delicious. You gotta get one of these juicers just to try to make your own coconut butter. Especially if you already are buying coconut butter. Man, I can't believe you buy it. It's so easy to make. You gotta just do it yourself. I think we're gonna put this stuff through one more time, and we're even gonna put it in a little jar and cap it off. And I believe this jar is actually the same size jar that they were selling at the store. This stuff is like really like butter. Right into the jar, no hassle, no problem. I mean, taking it from this to this, it's amazing. I mean, this is all gooey and sticky, just like a nut butter you'd buy in the store, but better. So I want to talk a second about coconuts. They are my favorite food. And some people may say that, you know, coconut is a good fat. I don't know if I could classify it as a good or bad fat. I like to classify fats like either essential or non-essential fats. And the coconut fat in here is a saturated fat, and it's a medium chain saturated fat. Now, is coconut fat and saturated fat an essential fat? Absolutely not. We can make our own saturated fat if we eat a nice spectrum of actually essential fatty acids. So we don't necessarily need to eat coconuts. Would I call it a good fat? Well, I like to say good, better, best. There's always good, better, best. I think coconuts are a much better saturated fat than trans fats, absolutely. And they're probably better saturated fat than animal fats. But we still want to watch our fat consumption in our diets. I recommend no more than 20%, 25% max percentage of fat in our diet by calorie. So you can see here, we have a nice little jar of coconut butter, homemade, made in the Omega 8004 Nutrition Center. So now we're gonna make some coconut oil. All we need to do is change out one thing in the juicer. We're gonna take off this end cap here, and we're gonna take off the blank plate. Now the blank plate is basically what just congeals everything and smushes up the oil and the fiber together, once again, to make our coconut butter. And we're gonna go ahead and put in the juicing screen right in there, real simple, real easy, and put the end cap on. Next, let me go ahead and grab a collection cup that's gonna collect our coconut oil. And here it is. We're gonna put that underneath, and this is gonna catch our coconut oil / cream, because it's not going to get 100% filtered, because once again this juicer is built to homogenize and not necessarily make coconut oil, but I found a way that you can do it, like I'm sharing right now. So this is going to catch our coconut oil plus our thick cream, because it doesn't have water, and this is going to catch the coconut fiber. Once again, we're going to turn the machine on, and once again, you don't want to feed the coconut into the machine too quickly. So we're going to basically pour a little bit at a time, and you're going to see what happens. As you can see, once again, we're getting some of the fiber out of the end cap. We have some residual left over from when we were making the coconut butter. And what'll start to happen in here, like I'm seeing, is we're going to start getting a couple drops out of the bottom of the machine. Now sometimes it does take a little time for that to happen. So we're finally getting some really thick cream here, and this cream contains some level of fiber, and from my estimate it's probably like 3/4 fiber and 1/4 oil. So after you get this thick cream, it starts to run out. You can eat this as is. It's insane how good it is, because once again it's the same as this but without all the water. Once it starts running, it'll continue to run out. So once you get all this, what you're going to do with this, the thick cream, is you're going to put this in a warm spot. So like I like to put it on top of my dehydrator that's running at low temperature. It gives it just enough heat to basically separate the fiber from the oil. The oil will rise to the top. You're then going to skim that off, and that is truly 100% raw coconut oil that you've made in your own home, that you've made from start to finish. You saw how I opened the coconut. You process it through the Omega, you dehydrate it in your dehydrator, then you run it back through the machine to extract your own oil. So you can see here we've almost finished processing all the coconut here. And that is all the coconut. Once I process all this coconut, what I like to do is then take this fiber that we've created and then run that back through the machine. This will give us a further pressing of the oil. And now we will have to use the pusher to push some of this fiber through the machine. Now let me tell you, it does take a fair bit of the coconut flakes to make the oil, because once again the coconut flakes have the oil and the fiber, and if you're wanting to make oil, we're wanting to separate out the oil from the fiber, and fiber actually makes up most of the content of your heavy cream that you're making down here. I find, once again, it's about 3/4 fiber and 1/4 oil once you, let this set in the heat, and it'll separate on its own. But man, that oil, it's nothing like the oil, even the raw oils you buy in the store. Now, I don't necessarily recommend you eat coconut oil. What I make the coconut oil is for body care. It's great to use for body care. I would prefer that you eat the coconut butter that has the oil and the fiber in it, because when you're eating oil, you're eating straight fat. Now, in some cases, it might be good to use the coconut oil in a medicinal sense, but on an everyday use, I'd recommend using the coconut butter, because there are other properties in the fiber besides just fat. There's a whole spectrum of nutrients contained in the fiber that you're going to get that you're not getting in straight up coconut oil. So you can see that's the second time through. We ran it through. We're still getting some heavy cream out. We're going to go ahead and run this through one last time. And right now it's just really easy, as fast as you could pick this stuff up and drop it in the machine. It's going to process it for you. It really is this simple to make your own coconut oil and coconut butter. You might be saying, hey John, why do you go through all the hassle to make your own coconut oil and coconut butter when you can just buy it? That's a good question. Then there's a couple answers I have. Number one answer is the taste. This stuff tastes amazing, so if you're into being a gourmet chef or a chef, then it's a reason to make your own, because you just can't get this flavor, like this homemade small batch flavor, with when you're buying it in bulk, when they're making stuff in big batches.
with high temperatures, and they frankly, may not care about the production process. And also, when you make it yourself, it's going to have a higher nutritional content because hopefully you are drying it at a low temperature, and when you dry it at a low temperature, you're preserving more of the enzymes and other nutrients in the food. All right, so I think we're getting pretty much done. In addition, you have that sense of accomplishment, like, yeah, I made that. So, tastes better and healthier, and it's just cool to do. And, I'm already buying the coconuts because I love to drink the coconut water, and you got to do something with them so they don't actually just get composted. Why not make some coconut oil or some coconut butter? It's super delicious. So, looks like we're pretty much done. We'll let that drip a little bit more. We'll turn it off, and just from that much dried coconut, we have about 1 cup of super rich coconut cream. And we've made, in this short amount of time, 3 things. We've made the standard coconut cream, we've made the coconut butter, and we've made the thick coconut cream. The difference between these two is that this one contains a water content. This one pretty much is all oil and the fiber. Once again, we're going to set this on top of our dehydrator and come back in a day or so. You're going to find that probably 3/4 of this is still going to be fiber, and then the top quarter is going to be the coconut oil that you're going to then skim off and put into a different container. That's how truly easy it is to make the coconut cream, coconut butter, and coconut oil, all in the Omega 8004 Nutrition Center that makes it possible. So hopefully you've enjoyed this episode learning how to make these amazing coconut products. Once again, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com, and don't forget, visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.